So the Chicago Bears just got a double dose of bad news, and I don't know if it's a triple dose, but so much to talk about, right? Unfortunately, most of it's negative. The nonsense that Tyrique Stevenson displayed, it's a dead horse at this point. I want to cast a more narrow net here, and this ridiculous loss to Washington's made a couple things pretty clear, and the first one being the offensive line. This is a red alert situation, and something just came up an hour ago, and I want to share it with you. And it's about offensive lineman Bill Murray. He is on injured reserve with a pec injury. So pec injuries, they're usually season enders for offensive linemen, but we'll be kind here. We'll say he'll miss at least 4 weeks. All players placed on injured reserve have to miss that. Murray was sitting with an 82.4 PFF grade, small sample size, but still he was a nice reserve for us. 27 years old. The Bears are going to hope Tevin Jenkins is able to go this week and beyond, because we just got a little bit thinner and Bill Murray's likely out for the season. So let's move forward with not thinking the season's done. I do not think the season's done here. Everybody take a deep breath here. But this is a bad situation offensively for this line. And the real story that's overshadowed by the fail by Stevenson and the Bears coaching. I'll get to the coaches in a moment. But let's get one thing clear, even outside of this Bill Murray injury. The Bears offensive line, it never got better. They just fared better against weaker competition, right? A lot of you guys were saying that on the message board. I'm usually really positive, but you know what? I'm there. This looks really clear. We can talk about the injuries during this game, but man, oh man, even before the injuries during the game, it was looking pretty bad. And we're facing a solid defense in the Commanders. I'm actually going to say it's a pretty darn good defense. And this unit, it just looked fully overwhelmed. The sack numbers don't even do it justice. I mean, by the books, Caleb only got sacked twice, I believe. But if you watch the game like me, he was running for his life on almost every play, it seemed. And injuries didn't help matters at all. I want to be fair with this. Braxton Jones got injured. Left guard Tevin Jenkins left the game, both with knee injuries. It only made matters worse. But this offense will never truly reach its potential, along with Caleb Williams, until this offensive line is addressed and fixed. And also another guy to talk about is Karan Amagaje. He ended up coming in at left tackle. And Tony Romo, during the telecast, he pointed it out pretty succinctly, pretty aggressively. He missed some blocking assignments immediately, just not a great start. But once things calmed down, once the dust settled, once he got more comfortable, he actually had a pretty nice outing. It was actually pretty encouraging. I'm probably going to talk that through in detail tomorrow. But this was a rookie getting his first meaningful action of the year. And you know what? He kind of balled out low key after that first start to the game that he got in. But regardless, pretty dismal showing of the whole unit. And we've got the trade deadline coming up on the 5th, right? We have a GM in Ryan Poles who's made a splash every single year he's been in charge. This team is just screaming for an offensive line addition. Actually, I'm begging for an offensive line addition. And the bigger issue for Caleb Williams' team, that's the health of the offensive line. With the deadline approaching, the Bears are sitting with about $7 million in cap space available. More cap space can be made if our friend Nate Davis is released, but that's not a definite. But if GM Ryan Poles, if he uses this time to make an upgrade on the offensive line, there's a really good chance it can be done, because 2 of the Bears' top 9 offensive linemen, Larry Borum, Ryan Bates, they've been on injured reserve since week 2. Veteran guard Nate Davis, I just mentioned him. He's been healthy and active for the last 2 weeks. The coaching staff, myself, you, the whole city of Chicago, I think, has lost confidence in him. But the result, along with the Bill Murray injury, that leaves just a really tiny margin for error, and that's got to be addressed. And both tackle Braxton Jones, left guard Tevin Jenkins, they left once again the 18-15 loss to the Commanders with injuries. I haven't seen word on how serious those injuries are. And you know what? My daughter's 8 years old. Her name's Presley. We were celebrating after that final touchdown, and she got a view of what being a Bears fan is like. She's learning young. Immediately, that heartbreaking Hail Mary. Anyways, I'm just going to move on. So Jones and Jenkins, you guys know these guys. They've been anchors of this line. That includes 2023 first rounder Darnell Wright. We've got some depth pieces. Coleman Shelton, he's our starting center right now. Matt Pryor has been very, very good. But both of these guys are only on one-year contracts. Those were signed last spring. PFF ranked the Bears line 18th last week coming in this Washington game. I think it's going to plummet a little more. Looking at the knee injury that was suffered by Jones in the second quarter, Kiran Amagaje, he came in like I was talking about, and this is our third-round pick from Yale. But I believe he was drafted with the idea that this was going to be a developmental year. He came in out of the draft with an injury that we knew about. He's just getting ramped up. And then you're looking at Jenkins. He's battled injuries most of the season. He left later in the game with that knee injury. He didn't return. Bill Murray, he later left with that chest injury. It ended up being a pectoral strain or a pull or a tear. I'm not sure, but he's going to be gone for the season once again. But GM Ryan Poles, usually with him, where there's smoke, there's fire. He doesn't usually perpetuate rumors when he makes a statement to the press. He was talking before the Washington game that he'd continue making calls to find ways to improve this team. It's time to get on the phone. I think he's going to. He typically follows talk in the media with action. So it's a thing on whether he should. And Brad Biggs of the Chicago Tribune, he definitely thinks that the time is now to make a big move. And this is also through Biggs having conversations with assistant GMs throughout the league, and the fact that we have a rookie quarterback making rookie money. He's arguing that that's a main reason that we should make an aggressive move right now, because the time is ticking already on this rookie contract. I mean, you've got a coaching staff that's kind of bumbling around. Wasting time without making a move now, it's probably inadvisable. And I think Ryan Poles should be really aggressive. And you can make the argument that premier offensive linemen, they don't typically come into play this time of year. And also it takes time for them to ramp up. I don't know if I fully agree with that anymore, because I think Ryan Poles will be aggressive. I think he's good at finding deals like he did with Montez Sweat last year. You know how that worked out. Very, very good. And we also have some teams that are going to be big-time sellers so early in the season. And you usually don't have this big of a pick of teams that have actually some quality offensive lineman pieces. We're talking Jacksonville. Talked about them last week. They're going to be sellers. There's a left tackle available from there. Carolina, the Titans, the Patriots, even the Saints have lost 6 games in a row. I think there's definitely teams that are, one, ready to be sellers, going to pack it in for the season. It's going to be a buyer's market. And they've also got almost all of these teams, the Saints, the Patriots, Carolina for sure. All these guys are up against the cap. And I think Ryan Poles can work some magic here. So work the phone lines. We need an offensive lineman. I'm going to talk secondly, and this is the part that I don't really want to talk about, but this coaching staff looked so overwhelmed. It's everywhere on the media, but it was especially at the end of the game. And I'm not going to just talk about this Hail Mary. We can all agree that that was mismanaged, but in particular, it was a play before that that's really the culprit. And it's kind of not giving me a lot of confidence, because Eberflus actually, he doubled down in an interview after the game saying that this was good coaching. Our coaching staff gave up the sidelines for the play before this Hail Mary. There wasn't much time on the clock. And even high school coaches know that when you're in this situation, you funnel the pass to the center of the field. You protect the sidelines, because guess what? Unless that play goes, 65 yards for a touchdown, it's completely harmless in the middle of the field. Washington didn't have a timeout. All you have to do is allow the pass to be completed, a quick tackle. The game would have been over, and this Hail Mary would not have even been possible. And kind of the fact that Eberflus doubled down on that being a good decision, That's the sticking point with me. And now we have several leaders on the team. They're talking against the coaching of this game freely with the media. And you guys know, you've watched the NFL long enough. This is never a good sign. So kind of a couple closing thoughts on this. I mean, I've been a Coach Eberflus ally here. I've been a coaching staff ally as well. We've seen some really good games called by offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. I want this coaching staff to stay together. It's so essential to have continuity, keep a staff together, allow them to grow, provide stability for Caleb Williams. And you look at all these other teams that are successful, these teams that have nurtured top quarterbacks. They stay with continuity, but it's just, I don't want to ruin the quarterback with installing another scheme and starting from scratch, but it's almost like these games are being coached so incompetently. We had 4 collapses last year. This is a second game this year that I think we're really lost by coaching. Indianapolis was the first game, and we just have this defense playing on its head, keeping us in games that we shouldn't be kept in, for the coaching staff to just kind of bungle it. So it's almost getting to the point that this coaching staff is going to force Ryan Poles to make a move. And it's really too bad, because Coach Eberflus, there is no doubt that he's a really, really good man. He's a great motivator. He's a developer of talent. He's great at keeping teams together. But when you stink this much at in-game management, something's got to give at this point. And the fact that this coaching staff offensively and corporately isn't up to the challenge, I mean, that's perhaps the worst news of all this. And there's absolutely no excuse for how unprepared head coach Matt Eberflus and this team looked heading into this major showdown against the Commanders. And this had ramifications of Chicago having to stack these wins up in preparation for this second half of the season gauntlet, where we have every single divisional game. I'm not telling you something that you don't know, but we have every single divisional matchup. We have San Francisco stuck in that as well, kind of closing with a team like Seattle. That's always kind of a touch and go team. They're hard to beat at times, but we're looking at, with 2 weeks to prepare, the Bears are still awful starting out the game in the first quarter. That falls on the head coach for failing to have this team ready. He's also responsible for hiring offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. He's also responsible for hiring Luke Getsy. And it's kind of like, when Waldron does a call, like, handing the ball to offensive lineman turned fullback Doug Kramer, right? Getting really cute when you're actually down in the game. It's up to Eberflus as head coach to maybe override that. Maybe be like, hey, let's wait until we're way ahead before we get cute. Let's just give the ball to Roschon. Let's drive him in with Kramer leading the way. Don't give Kramer the ball. And even though this play was practiced over and over and over leading up to this game, it's just kind of reading the room and managing the game with good feel. And I'm starting to get more and more convinced that head coach Matt Eberflus does not have the proper feel to really manage a game. He's good at everything else besides managing a game. And that's a major part of the job as a head coach. And I want to be pleasantly surprised coming into this game against the Cardinals, coming into this game with New England. Hopefully we can get this offensive line cobbled together. We can stack a couple wins in preparation for this gauntlet, and we can enter into that part at 6-3 and still have a shot at the wild card, which I think is fully possible with the team as it is. I think going 2 games down in the division is kind of going to put it out of reach. But you guys let me know what you think. I'm not all in on this doomsday thing saying the sky is falling and this season is over, but it's also important to not be a Pollyanna all the time and be realistic about where we are as a team and this problem with the offensive line. You guys bear down. I'm sure you will leave lots of comments, and I can't wait. See ya.